Okay, just having a look at the control paladin I've been using for the past couple matches. I have a card in here. Must have seen it just then. Okay, this is the control paladin I've been using for the past couple games. It's got me a few wins that I've received. At the moment, it's just a work in progress, but this is obviously cards generally people might have, depending on how long they've played for. This isn't a deck that anyone can start out with. I can probably recommend cards that you can switch out, whatnot. I can do some ones like that in a later video. Maybe like basic decks, whatnot, basic paladin, basic priest, like so on and so forth, of all the different classes of people who are starting out. But at the moment, this is my control paladin, and generally it has a pretty decent archetype. The curve is more mid-game, as you can see here. So it's a mid. Technically, should just call it mid-range control. Not, it would be the pure term of it, so to speak. The main priorities of this deck, obviously, that it runs is Muster for Battle and Quartermaster is one of the main combos of this deck. Consecration and Equality, some of the basic combos that Paladins generally get seen. So, as soon as someone plays a Paladin, those are the things they're worried for these days. Other cards that are very good considered cards that work well with this deck is I definitely do enjoy Knife Juggler with Muster for Battle, as well as your hero ability to summon minions. It's easy to just get that one damage. Sometimes you can even be lucky to even just do Equality, Knife Juggler, summon a 2/2. Yeah, generally, yeah. So that's about turn 7. A turn 7 play. Quality, everyone's at 1 health, but I generally play my Knife Juggler second after Equality if he's not already on the field, so that way he stays 2 HP, that way it's harder to take out if the enemy has to use a spell instead of then just throwing an enemy in. But yeah, Quality, Knife Juggler, stabby, 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 deals his 1 damage to the minions. Hopefully you're lucky enough to get the cards you want. I have a pretty good time using him, and he's a very good just card mana-wise, and his stats are really good. Other cards that I've put in this deck is Abusive Sergeant. Most Paladins do not run 1 mana cards, but I don't know, just my playstyle involves, I don't like having just completely 2 to 3 mana cards you start out with, because then it makes you have a null first turn. Because if you really need to play it, if you have Abusive Sergeant in your first turn, and you desperately need to play him, I would not consider his passive the reason you play him. If you need to play him for control purposes on turn 1, probably not against a druid or a mage at all. Don't use him for his ability. Do not throw him out there for that reason entirely. Although you deal 1 damage to them if they only if the druid attacks you, but the mage can just not take any damage. But yeah, it's just generally you can play him if you desperately need him on first turn, but not against a druid or mage. Otherwise, it's okay. Other cards that are main priorities in this deck that I've put in for my own sort of reasoning is Blessing of Kings and Acolyte of Pain. Acolyte of Pain for the reason I can have a bit of board control. I get a couple draws if they do AoEs, because the main cards that can counter this deck is obviously Druids with their Starfall and their Swipe, which can counter Muster the Battle. But generally, I find Acolyte of Pain a very good card for its mana cost, and it also draws a card when it gets hit, so you can throw it into people to kill them after you've equalityed. So I generally find it a very good card for the purpose of my playstyle of my control paladin. Other cards that I've put in here is Hammer of Wrath. The paladins of the meta that I've seen at the moment do not include Hammer of Wrath in their decks. Instead, they do usually include. I've actually seen a lot of. I'm trying to look for now. I'm trying to think. Instead of having 2 Hammer of Wraths, they will put a Bolvar 4 Dragon and a Tyrion 4 Dring in their decks to give them a bit of late game. because those are the two cards I do not have in my deck at the moment, as well as Sylvanas is as a maybe. I wouldn't realistically put in this deck. But overall, the other card, that's just more or less the main cards of the deck. The basic cards for any sort of control Paladin is obviously Equality, Shield Minibot, Muster for Battle, Eldor Peacekeeper, True Silver Champion, at least one. I only included one because I tried it out with two. Two just seemed a bit overkill. You have a bit too many 4 mana cost cards. It tips the scale of your tempo for this deck. And also having another weapon. People these days are running a little bit of Harrison Jones, more than most, or more than they used to, from what I'm versing. So I took it out because there's no point having two. You use this desperately if you need it, and a Blessing of Kings is generally more helpful than getting a weapon taken. You have one weapon left because of the Harrison Jones. Consecration's a must. Hammerwrath, no. Azure Drake, I put it in here. I put two in here just because of the sake that I have a lot more spell damage in this deck than most. Only because I put Hammerwrath in. I was like, wouldn't have put it in at all. Lotheb generally just because I don't like versing mages this deck. Mages are a killer, and priests are also a killer as well. So keeping their controls under wraps is a good statement. But the reason it's only in there just to counter spells from those two classes. It doesn't work much against others really, unless you want to play it really late game, about 7 mana, 8 mana cost, or 8 mana turn. Sorry. Sludge Belcher, only one. 2, don't really need that many taunts. I can just trade equally with my minions, Knife Juggler, Throw, that kind of thing. Trading is an essential part of this deck because you're trying to keep board control. Establishing board control is the main priority, obviously. Can Bloodhoof because he's a 6 mana 4/5. Very, very, very good cost effectiveness, and when he dies, he becomes the 4/5. Bane Bloodhoof. And Emperor Thracian, just because sometimes, you know, card combos are just a little bit too expensive. Emperor Thracian does not need to be in this deck, but I threw him in here because I am currently missing some cards. He's a 6 mana 5/5, reduces the mana cost of my cards. Very good for keeping my tempo up. If I get late game and all I've got is pretty big, not necessarily late game. If I get mid game and all I've got is a lot of high cost cards, can't do combos, Emperor Thracian, even just one turn in, reducing mana cost of your cards by 1, is a pretty significant change to the deck of how it plays. Because doing a turn, a turn 8 play for Master Battle, Quartermaster now becomes a turn 6 play, which is huge and very well for the majority of the tempo. More or less covers it really. There's not really other combos in this deck. Paladin Shred is just a very good an overall good card, you know, to have. Not really much else to put. Like, I guess I could say what cards I would swap out for certain cards. Obviously, I would swap out Khan and Emperor for Bolvar and Tyrion, no doubt, if I had them. Sylvanas, I don't see a very I don't see a need for her in this deck. There's not many really big cards out there. If you don't like running any Abusive Sergeants or Blessing of Kings, you could probably swap out Blessing of Kings for maybe a BGH, because there are a lot of Dr. Booms running around and all that kind of stuff at the moment in the meta. Dr. Boom is a very good card to put in this deck as well if you choose to take out the Azure Drakes or the Hammer Wraths to swap them out. There's a lot of cards you can sort of twist and tweak the way you like them. But at the moment, this is the deck I'm running with. I find it very nice for the way I play, really. It's generally very nice curve, so you're never really not getting just like one game you just get good draws, the other game you just don't get anything at all. I find that this deck really works for me as of how I play, or how I find control myself. But yeah, that's more or less my view on my Paladin deck and why I play it, and to give you guys a little bit of insight, not just watching Paladin videos and having to kind of watch my videos and just like write down the cards I'm playing and hopefully you get all 30 of them. I thought I'd include this now, you know, just after. But yeah, this is my Control Paladin deck. The next decks I'll probably be doing. At the moment, I've got a buff priest I want to kind of get out there. Very big combo deck, so to speak. It's not really, it's only got maybe 1 or 2 combos in it. So if those combos get snuffed out, it's more or less game. So it's more or less just like I could just more or less call it a Miracle Priest, because I kind of copied the Miracle Rogue a little bit, just not having the whole stealthy thing with Adventurer. That'll probably be the next deck I'll use to rank up with, and the next deck I'll show you guys. Rogue is obviously my favourite deck that I've been trying at the moment, but they haven't been working out too well. I've been trying to get Trademaster Gallywix working at the moment, trying to make a deck work. Haven't found much, I don't know, haven't found much movement with him in the meta. He's not that generally good. Even though he can't be countered by BGH, there are a lot of spells that can just wreck him, and then that's the only, like, you get that one spell in your hand, and then you give them a coin. Not a very good trade for 6 mana, in my opinion. So I'm trying to find a good deck where he works, because I would really like him to work. But that's generally how things are gonna be at the moment. So that's the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. No worries.